Before we talk about sources, let's talk about citing them and make sure you understand how sources are connected to your essay. For this writing unit, you have one source. It is the short story you've chosen for the essay. From this source, you will find supports, reasons, and examples of the traits you've chosen for the character in the story. When you put these supports, reasons, and examples in your writing, you need to cite, you need to tell where you found that information. Whenever you're writing an essay, there's one very important step that must be followed: citing sources. Citing sources means telling your reader the sources you used for your writing. You must give credit to the owner of the information that you use in your essay, otherwise it's plagiarism. To plagiarize means that you're presenting something as your idea instead of information from an existing source. For your essay, you will look at two types of in-text citations. There are two places you'll cite your sources: within your text, your essay, and in the Works Cited page at the end of your essay. On the Works Cited page, you provide more complete information about your source. In-text citations are required for each of the examples in your essay, whether they're direct quotations or paraphrased wording, information you took from the story but put in your own words. The next few slides teach you the guidelines for the two types of in-text citations you may use for this essay. We'll start with quotations. If you use the exact same words, something the author says or something one of the characters says, as they appear in the story, you must put quotation marks around the words. At the end of the quotation, you put the end quotation marks, but before you put the end punctuation, the period, exclamation, or question mark, you put the in-text citation. The end mark goes after the ending parentheses. Here's a model. You have a quote with the quotation marks. You have the in-text citation, the author's last name, the paragraph number from the story where you got the quote, and there's your end mark after the parentheses. Here's a model from The Most Dangerous Game short story you've read earlier in this course. When Rainsford swims to safety and arrives at General Zareff's mansion, the general comments, "Come, you shouldn't be chatting here. You can talk later. Now you want clothes, food, and rest. You shall have them. This is a most restful spot." Clearly, General Zareff seems to be the perfect gentleman and perfect host. He seems concerned for the welfare of his unexpected guest and wants to do everything he can to make his guest comfortable. You have the introduction of the quote. Who are we talking about? What's going on? The quote, in quotation marks. The in-text citation with the end mark after the parentheses, and then the writer's commentary about the quote. You paraphrase information if you put the information from the source that you want to use as evidence into your own words. That means you should not use the same words at all, but should express the same idea in your own words. And there are exceptions with this, because there sometimes are technical words or there isn't a better word to use, but we try for the most part to rephrase and reword information when you paraphrase. Even though you're using your own words, you are still borrowing the idea, and therefore you must cite the information with an in-text citation. Here's a model. There's the paraphrased information, no quotation marks, the author's last name and the paragraph where the information came from. There's the end mark. When Rainsford swims to safety and arrives at General Zareff's mansion, the general is aware of Rainsford's exhaustion, invites him into the house, and gives him time to clean up, eat, and sleep. He tells him that there will be time to talk later. Clearly, General Zareff seems to be the perfect gentleman and the perfect host. He seems concerned for the welfare of his unexpected guest and wants to do everything he can to make his guest comfortable. You have the same introduction. Who are we talking about? What's happening? There's the paraphrase of the author's word. If you go back to the quote, we're using the quote information that was in the quote, but the writer's putting it in his or her own words. There's your in-text citation and the writer's commentary about the quote. Let's compare the paraphrase to the actual quote. Up above, underlined, is the paraphrase. The general is aware of Rainsford's exhaustion, invites him into his house, and gives him time to clean up, eat, and sleep. He tells him there will be time to talk later. That's the paraphrase. The exact quote is in the purple. The quote was, "Come, you shouldn't be chatting here. You can talk later. Now you want clothes, food, and rest. You shall have them. This is a most restful spot." You can see that the writer took the ideas and used his or her own words to express it in a different way. Here it is all together. Your assignment for this step will be practicing using an excerpt from the story you've chosen, The Necklace or The Possibility of Evil. You're going to select 2 different passages, 4 or 5 sentences from the story that you plan to use for evidence in one of your body paragraphs in your essay. You're going to create 2 different in-text citation examples using this passage. You create 2 examples from the same passage you choose. A quotation example, like the example in the video, and a paraphrasing example, like the example in the video. The complete instructions for this assignment are in your course in the Interactions for Learning for this step.